morning, students. Welcome to our today's lesson, Practical Applications and Effect of the Different Regions of EM Waves. And I'm your grade 10 science teacher, Mrs. Mary Joy I. Escalides. Our most essential learning competency is we can cite examples of practical applications of the different regions of EM waves, such as the use of radio waves in telecommunication. Electromagnetic waves, we will discuss about electromagnetic waves, and with this discussion, we will tackle what are functions and uses of these waves. Electromagnetic waves have several functions, and it depends on each type of waves. First, let's talk about the radio waves. Radio waves is the longest wavelength, ranging from 0.04 inches or 1 millimeter to more than 62 miles, 100 kilometers. Radio waves also the lowest frequencies, from about 3,000 cycles per second or 3 kilohertz up to 300 billion hertz or 300 gigahertz. Radio waves are best known for their use in communication technologies, like listening to your favorite song using the radio, or watching your favorite TV show in the television, and also chatting with your friends using your cell phone. Thus, radio waves used to transmit signal in radio communication broadcasting. In this figure, we will show the flow of how signals are produced and transmitted through radio waves. The first part is when the broadcaster uses the microphone. The microphone converts the sound waves to audio frequency signal, or the AF signal, or the electrical signal, and it acts as receptor. This audio frequency signal will now go to modulator. At the same time, the radio frequency oscillator will produce radio frequency signal, or the RF signal carrier, and will also go to modulator. Once the AF signal and the frequency signal waves reach the modulator, those two will transform into an appropriate modulated carrier waves through the process of amplitude modulation, or what we call the frequency modulation. In frequency or in amplitude modulation, the amplitude of radio waves or the RF signal changes so much that audio frequency signal. This is used in standard broadcasting because it can be sent over long distances. After the modulation process, the modulated carrier wave will be sent to amplifier that will magnify its energy. The amplified modulated carrier, or the amplified modulated wave, is then sent to transmitting antenna. The changing current in the antenna generates radio wave that travel in all directions. Thus, radio waves, which has a wavelength of 1 meter to 10,000 meter, a relay or repeater antenna is used to reach the receiving antenna. The ionosphere helps the radio waves to bounce back radio waves, and will be accepted by the receiving antenna. Once the radio waves reach the receiving antenna, the tuner circuit selects the frequency of the station desired. The received signal will now be sent to the modulator, which will get the information, the AF signal from modulated carrier waves. Now, it will be sent to amplifier to increase its energy, and it will transport to the speaker or the loudspeaker that will convert it to original sound. Sound waves has entered the microphone, it will convert it into electrical impulses. Thus, the electrical impulses converted into radio wave and broadcast by the transmitter. This sound is converted into patterns of electric current vibration called the audio frequency signals. And thus, high-frequency radio waves called the RF carriers can be modulated to match the electric signal. And then, the radio wave reach a radio receiver and are converted back into the sound. Radio waves also have a different band. So we have different band like the extremely low frequency, very low frequency, medium frequency, high frequency, very high frequency, and ultra high frequency, super high frequency, extremely high frequency. Now, extremely low frequency uses in submarine application, or this one, the submarine application, or used in communication, underwater communication. Very low frequency is navigation and time signal. Low frequency is for radio communication. Medium frequency is for radio communication or AM radiation broadcasting. High frequency is used for radio communication or also the AM radio broadcasting. Very high frequency is used for TV broadcasting or the FM radio broadcasting. Ultra high frequency is uses and also in TV broadcasting. Super high is in satellite communication. Extremely high is for radio astronomy. Now, let's talk about the second type of EM waves, which is the microwaves. Microwaves cause water and fat molecules to vibrate, which makes the substance hot. Mobile phones uses microwaves as they can be generated by a small antenna, which means that the phone doesn't need to be very big. Microwaves are also used by fixed traffic speed cameras and for radar, which is used by aircraft, ships, and weather forecasters. And we also use microwaves for Wi-Fi purposes. Microwaves. Effects of microwaves with prolonged exposure to significant levels of microwaves is known to cause cataracts in your eyes, which is a clouding of the lens preventing you from seeing clearly. Most of this effect is mostly vision into adult one. Infrared rays, the third type of electromagnetic waves, which is infrared waves are just below visible red light in the electromagnetic spectrum. Infra means below, thus given off by hot object, and you can feel them as warm on your skin. Thus, we use infrared in remote controls, in TVs, video cassette recorders, and other electronic appliances. We also use infrared in photographs taken from satellite, with a special frame provide useful details of vegetation on the Earth's surface. Infrared also scans are used to show the temperature variation of the body, and this can be used for medical diagnosis, as that now in most of the establishment here in the Philippines that we are experiencing the COVID-19, most of the establishments have this scanner. We also have some autofocus camera that transmit the send out infrared pulses. The pulses are reflected by the object to photograph back to camera. And some night vision goggles use IR. Let's now proceed. The only visible light, the only type of EM waves that can be seen by human eye. Our eyes can detect only a tiny part of electromagnetic spectrum, and that is the visible light. White light is actually made up of full range of colors mixed together. Visible light. Phototherapy is use of light in medical treatment of variety of ailments from topical infection and chronic wounds to autoimmune and chronic degenerative diseases. Infrared photographs taken from satellite with a special fins provide useful details of the vegetation on the Earth's surface. Because of light in these wavelengths can penetrate and absorbed by subcutaneous cells, it can act on wounds, internal injuries, and diseases. Thus, too much light can damage your retina in your eye, and avoid looking at something very bright, such as the sun. Although the damage can heal if it is too bad, but it will be permanent. Let's now move on to the next one. You might know this type of electromagnetic waves as EM, as UVB, UVA, UVV, or UVC, and this is the ultraviolet waves. Uses for UV light include getting a suntan, detecting forged banknotes in shops, and hardening some types of dental filling. Electroviolet ray also see UV lights or backlights in club, where they can make your clothes glow. This happened because substances in washing powder, fluorines, when UV light strike them, they absorb the UV and then re-radiate the energy at a longer wavelength. Ultraviolet rays can be used to kill microbes. It is also used by food and drug company to use UV lights to sterilize their product. And suitable doses of ultraviolet rays can cause the body to produce vitamin D, and this is used by doctors to treat vitamin D deficiency and some skin disorders. Ultraviolet ray with a large doses can damage the retina in your eyes. So, it's important to check that your sunglasses will block the UV light. That's why most of us are suggesting to use sunglasses, because large dose of UV lights also can cause sunburn and even skin cancer. Classified as part of ionizing radiation, this type of EM waves is called X-rays. X-rays are very high frequency waves and carry a lot of energy. They will pass through most substances, and this make them useful in medicine and industry to see inside things. X-ray are used by doctors to see inside people. Also, X-rays are also used in airport security check to see your luggage. They also used by astronomers. Many objects in the universe emit X-rays when we can detect using suitable radio telescope. And also, X-ray, the lower energy X-ray don't pass through tissue as easily and can be used to scan soft areas in our body, such as the brain. X-ray can cause cell damage, and radiographers in hospital stand behind a shield when they X-ray their patients. They take many images as they could quickly build up dangerous dose themselves. That's why they have the protection once they do the X-ray. EM waves that has the highest frequency and the shortest wavelengths, let's talk about gamma rays. Gamma rays are given off by stars and by some radioactive substances. They are extremely high frequency waves and carry a large amount of energy. Thus, they pass through most materials and are quite difficult to stop. You need lead or concrete in order to block them out. So they pass through mostly the penetrating power of 3 types of radiation: the paper, aluminum, and the concrete. Gamma rays also used to kill cancer cells without having to resort to difficult surgery. That's why they produce, or they invented, what we call radiotherapy, and works because healthy cells can repair themselves fairly when damaged by gamma rays, but cancer cells cannot. So this is how it works with, if you have a cancer, this is what we call the radiotherapy with material of gamma rays. Gamma rays also kill microbes and used to sterilize food so it will keep fresh for longer. So this is known as irradiated food. Next is we have gamma rays are also used to sterilize medical equipment. Gamma rays can cause cell damage and can cause a variety of cancers. And also that can cause mutation in growing tissue. So unborn babies are especially vulnerable. Now, before I end this discussion, let me end this with our quotation that the rays of happiness, like those of light, are colorless when unbroken.